Okay, Ramblers, let's get rambling.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Dr. Nick.
Some Dumb Guy here. Welcome to episode 12 of SumDumWatch. This chronicles the week of December 16th through December 22nd. And this is where I document or share with you what I have watched from my physical media library for the week, as well as any theatrical viewings I attended. So let's dive right in. First and foremost, a word from our sponsor, Sugar. She's present. She wants to say hello. Say hello, Sugars. Say hi. Yeah, kitty. Gotta make your appearances, you know. Huh? Okay, so let's get the ball rolling. We're going to call this week the week of 4K. This is a week of not only 4K, but of some interesting, some guilty pleasure, some new exposures, and all kinds of fun stuff. I bought this one not too long ago, featured on an unboxing recently, and I bought it for one reason and one reason alone. And that was I needed a movie to pair up with the original 56 War of the Worlds that I got from Criterion. I got Tom Cruise's War of the Worlds from Steven Spielberg. This is some really, let's see if I can get this to focus. I don't know. I don't have a problem with the cover or the artwork per se, but the image itself looks low grade. I don't know. What do you think? I know this movie is not particularly well received. It's a little bit off. I'd only seen it once when it was relatively new. And being a fan of the original film, as well as the novel by H.G. Wells, you know, it's obviously quite a bit different. That's not always a bad thing. My opinion of this has upgraded. The kids, what is this, sweet pea? Huh? The children in this movie, Tom Cruise's kids, are annoying. They're unrealistic in their behaviors overall, I think. That set aside, overall, I think it's a fairly strong film, and I don't think nearly as poorly of it as I used to. And for those who do, I would recommend giving it a rewatch. You might find yourself liking it a little bit more. Another rewatch for me, because I recently upgraded this one to 4K. And the Blu-ray, which I had honed, had a very poor reputation. This looked pretty clean. This is the 4K of The Italian Job, which I've always enjoyed this movie. Ed Norton at his sleaziest, I think, probably. And it's got overall a really great cast. But yeah, this is a fun one, and I really enjoyed that. So I got to rewatch it. Crisp, clear, beautiful imagery on the 4K. So glad I upgraded. I did a rewatch here of one of my personal favorites, and this is a movie from 2022. Now, believe it or not, I saw this movie 22 times in the theater when it came out. There was a time for a while that I was going to the theater to watch this once a week. Every Tuesday after work, discount day, I was popping in and checking it out. And this is going to be presented on, it's 4K, but it is my own homemade personal 2-pack. I watched Top Gun Maverick, obviously, 2022, but got that paired with the original film in one of my, like I said, little homemade 2-pack cases that I do. There we go. This is amongst my space-saving features for maintaining a somewhat large physical media library. This helps considerably. So yeah, I like to pull this movie out every now and then and rewatch it. I still get a kick out of it. And I had a little idea that I wanted to do for a project video, and so I pulled it out to rewatch and work that in to record that video that will air on Christmas Day for anybody watching. Just a fun little experiment I wanted to try, see how it works, present it to you. Merry Christmas from Some Dumb Guy. Hopefully you enjoy. But yeah, love both these movies. Next up, another 4K. This is a guilty pleasure film. Had it on DVD, had it on Blu-ray from Shout. 4K came out. I was really on the fence about it, and it was one that the price did not seem to want to drop for a little while, and then it finally did. I think for maybe it was, I don't think it was Black Friday. It was before that. I wasn't going to pay more than $20 for this one just because I had only recently upgraded the Shout Factory Blu-ray, and I thought it looked okay. I was also concerned about whether the special effects on this from the time period that the movie came out, whether they would uphold in 4K. A lot of times they suffer. But this is the core. I said one of my guilty pleasure favorites. It's got a great cast. Aaron Eckhart, Hilary Swank, Delroy Lindo, absolutely love him. And of course we also have Stanley Tucci. We have, let me see here, names sometimes escape me. DJ Qualls is great in it. Richard Jenkins, always reliable. Love him. Bruce Greenwood's great. Alfred Woodard, of course. Yeah, overall great cast. Fun story for me as a guilty pleasure film. The effects mostly hold up. The 4K does detract here and there for some of them. It look a little too CG, more than they used to. But overall, still a great, enjoyable film. I love to revisit once a year or so, give or take. Next up, same boat, not really a guilty pleasure, but the same thing as far as effects issues go with an upgrade to 4K. One that I already was fairly happy with the Blu-ray and wasn't going to pay over $20 for 4K, so it took a while for this one to come down. We have the lesser competitor to Armageddon. We have Deep Impact. Nice little slipcover on this one. This is one that suffered from the competition against Armageddon, rushing to get this one out into theaters first. They sacrificed their effects work, and it shows even more on 4K, unfortunately, which is what I was afraid of. Better story, more personal story told in this one than Armageddon. So you said Armageddon is more the popcorn-y type flick, and this is the more serious drama, which is fine. But you get a lot more of the action-oriented stuff happening off screen on this film as opposed to Armageddon. Now, presumably, that would also be a result of rushing the production to beat Armageddon to the movie theater in the summer of '98. I think this one was in May. I believe Armageddon hit in July or August. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that is. But I still enjoy both. Next up, this is be title number 4 from my Frank Capra collection here. It's the 4th silent film. It's also the 4th film to release into theaters in 1928. An interesting phenomenon I'm seeing in these films. So for each of the 4 films so far, all released in 1928. For each one, I note what I would call an evolution in filmmaking, which is interesting because they're all in 1 year's time frame. But each film in succession has become increasingly complex, increasingly wider in scope, in storytelling, in sets, in locations, in every aspect of filmmaking, which is really bizarre in itself too, because actually the first 2 films in the collection were reversed from their chronological date. So it's obviously not a tried and true thing unless the release dates were out of order from the dates that the movies were actually filmed. In this case, it is a 4K, the first in the collection, of Submarine. This one here stars Jack Holtz, but it also stars Ralph Graves. Now, Ralph Graves, we will see here in the middle, he was also the male lead in That Certain Thing, which was the second film that I watched in the Frank Capra box set. So interesting to see him return again so quickly. First two films you had sisters star in each one, and then this we have a recurring star as well. This movie looks beautiful. It's a great restoration. Loved every bit of it. There's a couple little rough spots, but that's been the case for every single one of his releases where it's been in that collection. There's just been a couple little scenes here and there, and it's usually maybe like 5 seconds tops where the quality has noticeably dropped, but it pops right back in. It's beautiful, really well made, really complex for its time as far as I'm concerned, because again, I don't know a whole lot about silent movies. The entirety of my experience with silent films so far comes from this collection. Great film, highest possible recommendation. Moving on. Another upgrade for me from Blu-ray to 4K, and a film that I'd only ever seen once before. And now, mind you, I just started watching this last night. Had forgotten that it is 3 hours and 17 minutes long, so I haven't finished it yet. I actually passed out on my couch here last night while I was watching it, so I need to finish it up either tonight or tomorrow. So you'll be seeing this one featured on next week's episode as well for the conclusion. So far, it's looking beautiful. This is the original Spartacus, starring Kirk Douglas and Gene Simmons. And we have Laurence Olivier and Tony Curtis. Those are the only names on the cast I recognize. This is a beautiful looking film. Really enjoying this one. I think this was from 1960. Real fine print there, but it looks like it says 1960. Universal bought this one from Groove. Thank you, Groove. Got a good deal on that one. TV time, people. TV time. So last week, I rewatched Season 1 House of the Dragon, and now we are on and completed Season 2 in 4K. Now, hot take perhaps, I enjoyed this season more than I enjoyed Season 1. Yep, I said that. Last week, I talked about why Season 1 is problematic for me, why I have issues with it, and it has a lot to do with the time jumps in conjunction with the recasting that occurs with those, and character names being very similar, making it very difficult for me to keep track of the who's who in that season. Now, I'll be the first to admit that Season 2's story is nowhere near as strong, and it's shorter season as well than the first season. However, no time jumps, no recasting after the first episode. I think one of the sons of Rhaenyra, I believe, was recast. Maybe it's because Season 2 took place years later. Maybe the character did. I haven't looked into it. Either the actor aged and looks different, or they recast. But it struck me and jumped out. But after that first episode, everything's consistent. All the casting is consistent. The actors' names are working out. No time jumps. Everything flowed smoothly with it. And while there wasn't nearly as much detail as far as the story and the writing, maybe not quite as strong, personal enjoyment was on a higher scale, because I was able to follow everything straight through without any confusion, which was great. I'm still really baffled by we got the two brothers here. We have Aegon and we have Aemond, right? See, they had similar names. I don't know why, being the younger brother, this actor they cast to play him in this time frame looks like he's at least 10 years older than his older brother, and that drives me nuts. That's my biggest complaint of this season and towards the end of Season 1 as well. But I enjoyed this. I understand we've got something like a year and a half or more to wait until Season 3 comes around. That's too bad. Lastly, a return of Nocturnal Activity, Star Trek Enterprise. I think I'm on episode 13 or 14 of Season 3 at this point. I don't know. Like I said, I passed out on the couch last night watching Spartacus. When I woke myself up, went to bed, climbed into bed. I made it so far as to turn my TV on and my 4K player on in my bedroom, and I promptly passed out before I ever got to hit play. I woke up sometime middle of the night to a TV that was on and a menu that was on, and that was it. Yeah, I don't always make the best progress on the show or whatever it is I watch at night when I go to bed. Lastly, theatrical viewings, people. I got to go see an early show last week on Wednesday, or Thursday, excuse me, of Homestead. This is a shit movie. I'm sorry. It's bad. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm considering this being my first film review for my channel. I always intended to take a little stab at it. I'm never really great at laying out plots for movies or whatever. And then you've got the spoiler versus the spoiler free and everything that comes with that. But I sure would like to diversify my content a little bit, because I'm very much aware my viewership on stuff like this, SumDumWatch, or my unboxings, don't do particularly well. I'm not pulling in nearly as much viewers. It takes the specialized content that I create that my numbers, I don't want to say peak, but they're much higher than they ordinarily would be for stuff like this. So I'd like to try to find some other areas in where I can draw in some higher viewer content, which is good, right? You don't have to put in the work to do this kind of thing. It's nice to get some, some people laying eyes on it, even if interaction is like non-existent at this point. Kitty, relax. So that's it for this week's episode of SumDumWatch. Coming up, I believe we have, this is going to be episode 8 of Black Friday Attacks. Guess what? We're wrapping up recording of this. We're going to dive right into that and keep the ball on rolling. So thank you for joining me, and please tune in for next week's episode of SumDumWatch, as well as the next unboxing for Black Friday Attacks from Some Dumb Guy and Eat a Sugar. Sorry, I just startled her. I picked her up too fast. Sorry, kitty. It's okay. Just want to say goodnight to everybody. And thanks once again. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.